Well, we've all heard of Yule logs, but Yule dogs, you know what? The holidays are coming, and winter, of course, and all that. And we're joined by Richard and Vicky. I was going to say Ricky and Richard or something. I don't know. I would have gotten that wrong.
That's okay.
Richard and Vicky Horowitz, both dog therapists and trainers, and you have Coco, a little Chihuahua here. Welcome to all three of you.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
And Coco's 4 years old?
4 years old. He's a rescue. She's a
Nice
rescue.
girl, nice girl. Okay, and so talk about this because the weather's starting to get colder, and a lot of people with pets, especially if you're new to having a pet, maybe there's some things you need to be thinking about with that first winter, hey?
Absolutely. You want to be careful of the weather conditions. You know, we think that dogs can be outside for long periods of time. As the weather gets colder, dogs shouldn't be outside except for very brief periods of time once it hits below 40 degrees.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful of frostbite. You have to be careful that they don't get hypothermia. And you can see signs of all these things happening. The hypothermia, the decreased heart rate, they get very lethargic. If you leave your dog out too long and they get hypothermia, you should wrap it in a blanket and then call a vet. If you keep a dog out too, and you see changes in their paws and they get a little frostbite, you want to make sure you put them in warm water for like 20 minutes and contact the vet. So those are very important things to worry about.
I was going to say, because they don't get to wear boots when they're out in the snow, or worse yet, I guess,
Right.
when there's salt on the driveway or wherever, because that gets in, that's
Well,
really bad for the
in that
paws,
case,
right?
you should have a towel. Wipe their paws before they come in the house.
Okay.
Make sure they have a coat. Like
Coco has a sweater
Coco
here.
has a sweater. Puppies, short-haired dogs, and older dogs should not really be outside once the temperature goes under 40 degrees for a very long period of time. Older dogs, or mid-aged dogs, I should say, they can go outside and under, up to 20 degrees, but you really have to monitor your dog. And if they're dogs that stay outside, they have a dog house outside, dog house should be lifted off the ground.
Yeah.
Maybe
with
a
hay on the
flap,
bottom.
Yeah, a flap over the doorway so they could be sheltered from the wind.
And I know some people will have like a light bulb or something that will give off some heat in
Right.
there just to
Right.
Keep
Right.
the dog
A little bit
warm.
Right,
warmer,
and
right?
also to make sure you have a water bowl that's not metal, because if you put a metal water bowl in there, then their tongue can get stuck to the metal or the cold. And if you have an arthritic dog or an older dog and it's icy, you should always have it on leash, because they can fall and get hurt when they're out walking in those cold weather
And another
times.
thing I think about too is when we get these big snow dumps, I mean, it's one thing for a golden retriever to go out romping around. They love it, right?
Right.
But little Coco here, that's
Overwhelming.
Right,
a
right. You
lot
got to
more
shovel a
taller
path.
than they are, right?
Yeah, we
Right.
tell our clients often to make sure you think about the winter when you have a dog. Where are you going to want to walk that dog? Make a path very close to the house. Use it as a toileting area all the time.
Yeah.
So when the winter time comes, they're used to going to that area.
Yeah, they like
And
routine.
you leave it close.
They
Absolutely.
certainly do, don't they?
Yes.
And that's dogs of any size, shape, or breed, right?
Right.
Now, okay, the holidays. Let's talk about this too, because there's a lot of things that we have typically decorating the house that aren't there the rest of the year.
Right.
And pets sometimes get curious. They might even get hungry with some of that stuff. So,
Right.
what should we do?
Even before going that route, we should talk about the fact that people travel for the holidays and making sure your dog is secure in the car.
Right.
Okay?
true, okay.
Not
Look
in the
at
front
seatbelts.
seat, right?
Yeah.
Not in the front seat. But we do need to keep in mind that people have their dogs on their laps. They have an accident, what's
Seen
going
it
to
many
happen?
times. You think
Yes.
the dog's driving the car.
Okay?
Right,
Or
right.
sitting in the front
Right.
seat, a 65-pound dog, all of a sudden the ear pad
Leg
goes,
deploys, yep.
goes out.
Yep.
So you have to think about that.
Dog should be in the back
I would
seat,
think on the
tethered.
floor if they're okay
If
with
they
being
can be on the
low.
floor, but they also need to be tethered, whether they have a seatbelt, their leash attached to a seatbelt, and in the back seat. Windows should not be open wide enough for them to get their heads out, because if their heads get out, then they can get debris in their nose and their eyes. We see a lot of people with
And
their
we-
dogs hanging out the windows.
We know how tempted
And
they love doing
yes.
that.
That's right.
Yes, and so it's, a lot of people don't think about the safety. Also, we have dogs who get car sick, and so you want to make sure that you don't feed them more than at least an hour or two before they go in the car, because then you can have issues with being car sick.
Now, we've only got about a minute left,
Yep.
so we've got to kind of hurry through. But talk about the holiday decorations, some of these things that pets get into.
Right. The snowballs, for instance, the snow globes have antifreeze in them. So be very careful of that. People like to give their dogs a little treat on the holidays, some food and whatnot. Not good. There's a big increase in the number of dogs that get sick after the holidays because they've eaten food that they're not used to eating. Be very careful of like turkey bones and chicken bones, which could splinter.
Yep.
The other thing is with the holiday decorations,
You have to be very
candles.
careful. Yeah, candles, you want to make sure the candles aren't too low. The dog's tails wag and they knock things over. If you have trees
Fire
and
hazard.
Right. If you have trees and you have ornaments, put your ornaments on the top of the tree, not on the bottom where they can get to it. You know, keep
No
your dogs
tinsel.
away from the base of the tree. Tinsel can injure their intestines.
I was gonna
You
say
want to
that it
make sure
makes
you
for
don't
an
want to get
interesting-
tinsel. You don't want them drinking the water in the bottom of a
Christmas tree.
Christmas tree because that can be toxic. And so there's a lot of things, poinsettias, there's a lot of things you have to be careful of with the holidays.
Yeah, they can't be much
besides-
because a poinsettia is poisonous.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a lot of things. It's a very big responsibility to have pets. It's a very chaotic time around the holidays. A lot of people say that their dogs get very hyped up around the holidays.
Overwhelmed by all the company.
You should always put your dog into another room when people are coming. Let everybody arrive, then let the dog out so that they see the people once they've arrived and the situation is calmer. Same when people leave. Put your dog in another room when they leave, and then let them out afterwards because that chaos and unstructured time is very difficult for our dogs.
This is all really great information, and some of which I never would have thought of, but all of it very helpful, certainly. And we hope to keep all these pets happy and healthy
Healthy
right
and
through
safe.
the holidays and right
Right.
on into the new year.
Absolutely.
Vicky and Richard Horowitz, thank you so much for being in here with Bark Busters.
Thank you.
Appreciate you
Thank
coming in.
Thank you.
All